There's an old saying, the wise man does at once what the fool does at last. A simple sentence, yet a lifetime of truth rests inside it. It is a line about time, discipline, courage, and the brutal difference between people who move forward and those who stay stuck. It is about the gap between intention and action, between dreaming and doing, between knowing and becoming. Today, we dive into this proverb like a deep ocean. We explore its psychology, its philosophy, its application in real life, work, relationships, personal growth, mental discipline, survival, ambition, and self-mastery. This is not just an essay. It is a manual for decisive living, a guide for those who want to rise above hesitation, procrastination, fear, and the paralysis that holds millions hostage. So sit back, listen closely, and allow these words to challenge you, to provoke something powerful within you. What is the heart of the proverb? The saying, "The wise man does at once what the fool does at last," is often attributed to the influential British statesman Lord Edward Halifax. But it reflects a universal human truth echoed by philosophers across history. The wise person sees what must be done and acts. Not tomorrow, not when the timing is right, not when I feel ready, but now. The fool, on the other hand, also sees what must be done, but hesitates. He waits for good weather, he waits for motivation, he waits for permission, signs, encouragement, or the perfect conditions that never arrive. And even worse, the fool eventually does what he was supposed to do, but only after reality forces him to. By then, the opportunity is smaller, the cost is greater, and the consequences are heavier. Think about it. If you don't maintain your health early, life will force you to do it later, through sickness. If you don't manage your money early, the future will teach you through debt, stress, and loss. If you don't learn discipline early, life will discipline you itself through regret. If you don't fix a small problem early, life will turn it into a bigger one. The difference between wise early action and foolish late reaction is often the difference between a good life and a difficult one. The psychology of the wise and the fool. Let us go deeper. Why does the wise man act immediately? Why does the fool delay? The answer lies in psychology, habit, and the way the mind interprets discomfort. 1. The wise man understands the cost of delay. Every delay has a price. A delayed conversation becomes resentment. A delayed dream becomes regret. A delayed decision becomes pressure. The wise person sees this cost clearly. The fool sees only the discomfort of acting now, not the disaster of acting later. 2. The wise man is not emotion-driven. The fool waits until he feels like doing something. The wise person understands that feelings are unreliable. Action shapes emotion, not the other way around. He acts even when he is tired. He acts even when he is unsure. He acts even when he is afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is movement despite fear. 3. The wise man thinks long-term. The fool is trapped in short-term thinking. He chooses comfort over progress, ease over growth, pleasure over purpose. The wise person zooms out. He sees the year ahead, the decade ahead, the lifetime ahead. He asks, what will my future self thank me for? And then he acts. Procrastination is the fool's trap. If we want to understand the proverb, we must understand procrastination, because procrastination is the science of waiting until it's too late. Procrastination is not laziness. It is fear disguised as comfort. It is the mind protecting you from discomfort by sacrificing your future. The fool says, I'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Next month becomes never, and never becomes regret. Procrastination makes people miss opportunities, lose relationships, fail at ambitions, watch life pass them by, not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked timely action. The wise person understands. Doing something later is almost always more painful, more costly, and less effective than doing it now. The law of momentum. Momentum is the silent force behind success. The wise person builds momentum by taking small actions early. The fool destroys momentum by waiting for perfect conditions. Let's break this down. When you start early, tasks are small. When you delay, tasks multiply. When you start early, effort feels controlled. When you delay, effort becomes chaotic. When you start early, the future opens. When you delay, the future tightens. Most great achievements are not the result of sudden genius, but steady, early action. Planting seeds, moving in small steps, doing what needs to be done before it becomes unbearable. Let me give you real-life examples. To understand the proverb more deeply, let's explore how it plays out in different areas of life. 1. Finance. The wise person saves early. He invests early. He avoids impulse decisions. The fool spends freely, avoids planning, and worries about money only when he is drowning in debt. Both eventually learn the truth, but the timing makes all the difference. 2. Health. The wise person exercises early, eats well early, sleeps well early. The fool ignores his health until the doctor gives him a warning or a tragedy forces him to change. The wise person pays in discipline. The fool pays in suffering. 3. Relationships. Wise people communicate early. They apologize early. They address conflict early. Fools avoid difficult conversations. They let resentment build. They wait until relationships crack, then try to fix them when the damage is already done. 4. Opportunities. The wise person understands that chances rarely return. He applies early. He asks early. He learns early. He builds early. The fool waits for a perfect time, which never comes. By the time he moves, the door is already closed. 5. Personal growth. The wise person begins the uncomfortable work on himself as soon as he recognizes the need. Healing, learning, unlearning, developing. The fool keeps saying, "One day I'll change. One day I'll become better." And that one day becomes never. The cost of doing things late. Let's explore the silent consequences that follow those who act too late. 1. Lost control. When you act early, you choose your path. When you delay, life chooses for you. 2. Higher difficulty. Everything is harder when you start late. Debt grows, health worsens. Relationships sour. Opportunities shrink. Stress increases. Confidence drops. 3. Regret. Regret is the most expensive emotion. It arrives when you finally realize what you should have done, and it's too late to do it well. The fool eventually takes action, but often only after regret pushes him. And regret gives harsh lessons. 4. Lost respect. People respect those who act. People lose respect for those who wait too long. Hesitation weakens your character. Decisiveness strengthens it. The wise man's principles of action. What is the secret of the wise? How do they act quickly, decisively, and confidently? Let us break down the inner mechanics. 1. They prioritize action over perfection. The wise understand that perfection is a trap. It paralyzes more people than failure ever has. They begin ugly. They begin imperfect. They begin unsure. But they begin. 2. They see problems early. Wisdom is the ability to detect trouble before it explodes. The wise person sees the unhealthy habit before the illness, the growing silence before the breakup, the financial slip before the debt, the red flag before the disaster. This early detection leads to early action. 3. They know the value of time. The fool sees a day as just 24 hours. The wise see it as a building block of destiny. Time is not money. Time is life. Once lost, it can never be reclaimed. 4. They understand discipline. Discipline is simply doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. The wise train discipline like a muscle. They don't rely on emotion. They rely on systems. 5. They keep commitments to themselves. The fool breaks promises to himself daily. I'll start tomorrow. I'll wake up early. I'll change. I'll stop this bad habit. But the wise person treats self-promises like contracts. To break them is to break character. How to become the wise man? Let us shift from analysis to transformation. Here is how you begin acting immediately instead of at last. 1. The 2-minute start rule. If something can be started in 2 minutes, do it immediately. Do not think twice. Do not debate your feelings. Action builds momentum. 2. Break the task into small steps. The wise do not focus on the mountain. They focus on the next step. The fool looks at the mountain and collapses emotionally. One step at a time. One push at a time. 3. Create deadlines, not dreams. Dreams without deadlines are fantasies. The wise attach dates, plans, and accountability. 4. Remove the "I don't feel like it" mindset. This phrase is the fool's anthem. Do things whether you feel like it or not. Emotion follows action. 5. Build a habit of finishing. Starting is easy. Finishing is leadership. Every time you finish something, your confidence grows. Every time you avoid or delay, your confidence shrinks. 6. Act before you are ready. You will never feel ready. If you wait for readiness, you will wait forever. Wisdom is learning as you go. Foolishness is waiting for perfect conditions. What happens when life forces action? There is a universal law. If you don't act voluntarily, life will force you to act eventually. Examples: if you ignore your health, illness will force you to change your lifestyle. If you avoid resolving conflict, anger will explode in your relationships. If you avoid responsibility, consequences will catch up to you. If you avoid ambition, regret will haunt you. If you avoid growth, life will deliver painful lessons. The fool eventually does what the wise did, but under pressure, fear, and urgency. The wise person moves from strength. The fool moves from desperation. The proverb versus your life today. Now the real question becomes, in your own life, what have you been delaying? Because everyone has something. A conversation you know you need to have. A habit you need to stop. A dream you need to start. A decision you've been postponing. A goal you've been avoiding. A truth you've been denying. A project you keep pushing forward. A responsibility you keep ignoring. Ask yourself, what am I postponing that will cost me more later? Because you know the answer deep inside, you already know. Wisdom is not complicated. It is simply doing the thing you know you must do now. The difference between a life of wisdom and a life of foolishness. The entire fate of two individuals can diverge purely on their relationship with action. Two people with the same talent, same idea, same potential. One acts early, the other delays. 5 years later, the gap is enormous. 10 years later, it is almost impossible to close. The wise person builds a future brick by brick. The fool dreams of a future but never begins. The wise person uses time as fuel. The fool uses time as an excuse. The wise person lives intentionally. The fool lives reactively. The wise person dies with peace. The fool dies with regret, becoming the person who acts at once. If you want the wisdom of this proverb to change your life, follow these transformations. 1. Change later to now. Later is a lie. Now is power. 2. Change "I might" to "I will." Indecision is a slow death. Decision is liberation. 3. Change "I'll try" to "I'll do." Trying is the fool's language. Doing is the wise man's language. 4. Change "I hope" to "I plan." Hope is not a strategy. Action is. 5. Change "maybe someday" to today. Someday does not exist. Today is all we truly have. The call to action. The wise person is not smarter, not luckier, not gifted with supernatural strength. He is simply someone who decides early. He takes control early. He speaks early. He learns early. He invests early. He heals early. He disciplines himself early. He takes responsibility early. He starts before he is ready. He lives intentionally. He acts while the fool hesitates. And that tiny difference, that decision to act when the fool is still thinking, changes everything. If you want a different future, it begins with one decision. Do at once what you know must be done. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Not later. Now. Because the wise man acts and the fool waits. The question is, which one will you be?